Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I never, ever liked the terminology old people, but I guess now that I am one, I kind of like it, and I look at it with pride, especially when older people are easy to spot at sporting events, especially during the playing of the national anthem. Us older people remove our caps, cover our hearts, and stand at attention and sing without embarrassment. We all know the words and believe in them. Amen. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Good morning, good morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Get you feeling good this morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Great big spring tire sale going on right now. And also some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them, get on the route service, 734-6969. And right now, here is our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, my friend. Thank you so much, Doug. Appreciate it. I know you're going to be calling back in a little bit. I just know it. And have a great day, my friend.
You too.
All right, buddy. Thank you very, very much. Time for the weather. And right now, the wonderful Gina has our weather forecast. Let's hope that she has great news. Let's hear it.
Well, there's a big possibility that spring has finally sprung here in the Magic Valley. For your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast, Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. Looking for sunshine today. 67 going to be the high. Clear skies for tonight. Expecting a low just about 37. Then for Wednesday, sunshine and 67. Going to see just a little bit of a breeze, maybe right around 7-8 miles an hour. Now for Wednesday night, got about a 30% chance of rain, 43 the low, 20% chance of rain, and mostly cloudy on Thursday, a high of 58. As we moving into the weekend, looking for mostly sunny on Friday, a high of 63, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 66. Hopefully spring has sprung here in the Magic Valley. That is your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Scotty, filling in this morning. Hey, don't forget the Burley Livestock Sale coming up on Thursday. Thursday, of course, at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley with our buddies Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. The sale that works for you. Yes, sirree, Bobby, and call them at 678-9411. 678-9411 for sale information and cattle consignments. Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Big sale on Thursday. Don't you miss it. By the way, too, we also want to say thank you very much to Daryl's Cleaners. Hello, Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And, of course, you can get gift cards there. This is a phenomenal idea, you know, for birthday presents or maybe an anniversary present, or just go up to somebody that's a friend and say, here, I was thinking about you. Don't make any kind of inclination that maybe their clothes don't look good. But, tell them, hey, if you need your clothes cleaned and really creased and looking nice and pressed, take them to Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And they are simply the best. Stop in and see them today. Okay, let's take a quick look at some of the quick shots in the news this morning. SEAL Team 6, very famous SEAL team, known for their ability to get the job done. They are rehearsing a possible takeout of Kim Jong-un in North Korea. A very ominous situation over there in North Korea, with the North Koreans puffing their chests out like a bunch of fat toads and trying all these missile tests and everything that not only could reach Japan and take care and obliterate even South Korea, but also our West Coast. Very amateur filmmaker by the name of Jason Pollock. I don't know how many of you saw this absolute despicable man last night on television, but he is trying to twist and turn and portray Ferguson, Missouri punk Michael Brown as a good young black boy, and that everything that happened to Michael Brown was all the police fault and everything else. I'm not even going to give you the name of his documentary because I'm not going to promote it on my program. I just found it despicable. And here's something else that goes under the category of despicable this morning. Remember all the Indian tribes that gathered back at the Dakotas on the Dakota Pipeline? They left a filthy, indescribable mess. And I understand now the Army Corps of Engineers at our money are going to have to go in and clean this mess up. Some of the things that they did, some of the things they left, some of the things that they created are not even going to be discussed on the program. So anyway, those are some of the quick shots for this morning. And a quick reminder, of course, that we are going to be over at Denny's Restaurant on this Thursday. Yes, sirree. We're going to have lunch bunch. I told Deanne, she agreed with me, and we both said, come heck or high water, we're going to have lunch bunch. We can't wait anymore, man. I tell you, my phone was burning up. And so it's going to be this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 Overland in Burley. And I'm personally going to try one of those great, I've had them before, sizzling skillet meals. Ooh, or maybe go back to my breakfast with all the variations of buttermilk pancakes. They are phenomenal. You're going to love it at Denny's Restaurant. The great people, fantastic menus. And we also want to say thank you for our gift certificate donors, and they are Smith's Foods, Handsome Mortuary, Stokes, Doug Martin, my old buddies, giving us some red neck cup holders and a free dinner to Alaska's Best. So we got all kinds of things going on at Denny's Restaurant this Thursday, 611 Overland in Burley. Don't you miss it, okay? By the by, too, with these warmer temperatures, now would be a great time to make sure that your air conditioning units are going to be ready to go in this summer heat. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, Zeb, we're not done with winter yet. I know. Wishful thinking. And spring is not until what? Next Monday, the 20th. But I'm optimistic that maybe no more snow. Maybe no more cold temperatures. But we'll see. But be ready anyway, and make sure that all your heating, cooling, electrical needs, you can get them right there with the best. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. All right, your calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is... You know, we're living in a society right now, and I dare somebody to try to prove me wrong. Go ahead. Prove me wrong. We're living in a society of wussies, wimps, wannabes, and never-have-beens. And we're catering to these people. We are catering to these people. We're going to the snowflakes, these little millennials, and going, oh, there, my child, even though you're 26 and you don't have a job and you're standing on street corners protesting, there, my child. Well, listen to this up at, what school was it? Carleton University in Ottawa, Canada. You're not going to believe this. If you didn't hear this story yesterday someplace else, the scales, weighing scales at Carleton University in the athletic department have been removed, taken out. Wheels, give me just a little boost in my headsets as to what I'm hearing, if you would, please. Thank you, my friend. And they've been taken out of the athletic area. Yeah. A couple of students complained. 2 students complained that the scales made them feel inferior to others because these 2 students were overweight. They said that the scales triggered negative feelings. And so they demanded, with the boo-hoo, wah-wah wannabes, that the scales be taken out of the building. Now, 99.9% of the other students and 99.9% of the faculty wanted the scales there so that when they go in to work out, they could, see after the workouts on a day-to-day basis if they were losing weight and everything. Oh, no, forget the majority, almost 100%, because a couple of people complained and they said, get rid of the scales, because a couple of dim-wit snowflakes said it triggered negative feelings. This isn't the only story. This isn't the only circumstance where we are caving to minority voices that stand up and say, no, I don't like the name of that street. I don't like the name of that mountain. I don't like the name of that river. I don't like anything that you said here. That's taboo. That's not politically correct. I don't like that scales here. You've got to get rid of it. What are we doing? 30, 40 years ago, we would have, I got to be careful with my verbiage here, we would have told these snowflakes to basically go out the door and not let the doorknob do any damage to your posterior. But we are catering to these people. It's just one more great big brick out of the cornerstone of the building that is absolutely, pretty soon the building's going to topple. Our culture, our values, our morality, everything. Oh, no, can't do that. Might offend somebody. What in the world? Please, this would be a good morning for you to send me your top 5 of the most ridiculous, outrageous political correctness that the left is trying to infringe upon us. But I'd like you to call and tell me your, not favorite, but least favorite, that you're worried about, that we need to stand up. I'm ready to have a non-political gathering in a city park someplace and say and do and put signs up that are absolutely not politically correct, just to fight back. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't want to be politically correct. Barry Equipment and Rental. Jerome on South Lincoln and in Twin Falls on Addison Avenue West and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Now they have all the equipment to get the job done right, including you better get your spring order in for those Walker mowers. Oh, you can mow like the pros and 0% interest for 48 months. All your equipment rental, all your retail equipment sales. As I said, they've got all the equipment to get the job done right. At Barry Equipment and Rental, Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Really, really nice people. And, hang on, caller. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody, too, about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. My wife really got after me yesterday, and she says, you better call Nick Greenwald, and you better make an appointment. Well, I forgot again. 678-1191. Boy, when Deanne gets mad, you better listen. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Exercises, sports medicine, hydrotherapy pool. Oh, my goodness. An excellent physical therapist helping you get back to being you. Be sure and give them a call today. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Absolutely the best. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
I knew.
Your prediction was correct.
I knew you'd call.
And my opinion on this political correctness is the way the left can stamp out free speech.
Well, it is, Doug, but how many times, and be honest here, because I can say, before you even answer this question, I can say that I've caught myself on numerous occasions, not just on the radio, but out in public, speaking at various locations, etc., where you go and you say, oh, gee, I wonder if I should say that. It's not politically correct. They have got us thinking before we're speaking today, and that's not what I'm going to do. I am absolutely going to fight this political correctness. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to call things the way they have been called and named. I'll give you an example. I've said this on my program before. I'm going to call landmarks and everything by their original name and concept, and I'm going to call Negroes in a very polite and absolutely certain fashion. I'm just not going to bend to these people.
No, and we shouldn't. Because this is one way that they can take control. They can take control of you if they can control what you say and how you say it. And you're not being disrespectful when you say, call them Negroes.
No. And here's the thing. Hold on just a second, Doug. For those tuning in this morning and hear that on the radio, the liberals, they're jumping through hoops right now and ready to fight tigers and come after me. There are three classifications of mankind: Caucasoid, Mongoloid, and Negroid. Look it up. Look it up in your dictionary. Look it up in whatever you want to do. And I am not about to disavow what scientists have for years classified as mankind. Why should we, and why should we change?
Exactly. We shouldn't change. And it's sad that the left, the last 8 years, has really pushed political correctness.
Yeah.
And I've heard several very smart individuals talk about it, and they say it is a way to take away your right for free speech.
Well, it is. And I'll give you an example. Are you aware of this fight going on in Phoenix, Arizona? Phoenix, Arizona. They have had a street down there named, Squaw Peak Drive, ever since the town was formulated. And now, all of a sudden, the mayor and some of the do-gooders are saying, nope, got to change it. All these people and some of the businesses have their stationery. They've had that address for years, so-and-so on Squaw Peak Drive. And now everything's got to change just to be politically correct. Look at the Washington Redskins. Look at the Cleveland Indians. Look at the Atlanta Braves. Look at all the sports teams. Look at everything else. These PC people are going on a rampage.
Yeah, and look at Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
Look at the Seminoles, the Florida Seminoles.
Yep.
I mean, it is a sign of respect if you name something after somebody. You take like the Seminoles. It is an honor to have that college named after them.
Yeah, and let's be real honest here when you talk about Florida State Seminoles, that the Seminole Indian tribe derives literally millions of dollars off of the trademark with the Seminoles right there at Florida State, and their Indian tribe down there, they aren't real tickled about seeing that go by the wayside and lose all that money.
No, but it's an honor. It really is. You take Kansas City Chiefs. Well, you take Oklahoma. I'm trying to remember what the word Oklahoma stands for.
Well, the Oklahoma University is the Sooners.
Yeah, No, but I mean the word Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Well, their license plates say home of Native Americans, you know. That also kind of offends me in a little bit, if you want to know the truth. I guess I'm in kind of these non-PC moods this morning. Where were you born, Doug?
Pardon?
Where were you born?
Rupert.
Okay, so are you not a Native American?
I am.
So I guess what I'm saying is I don't like the selectivity of some of the PC saying that we have to treat such a group of Indians or such a group of people as being the only ones that can have that title. You know, like these aren't Indians, they're Native Americans. Well, I'm a Native American, you're a Native American, so what's the big deal?
Yeah, we were born in America.
Yeah.
In fact, my folks were born in America.
Yeah.
So, 2 and 3 generations. Yes, my probably great-great-great-grandparents come over. My dad's granddad come over from Russia when they was starting to get ugly over there.
Yeah, but when they say, well, the Native Americans, the Indians have been here forever. Well, that's not true, Doug. You know that because of the migration habits of the early peoples of this world. So I don't want to hear this garbage about, well, they're Native Americans and you're not. That's baloney.
That's true. It is baloney. And did you see the deal on Kaepernick, just on a little lighter side?
I don't spend any time on Colin Kaepernick. I find him a pimple that I wish somebody would let go away.
Well, his phone isn't ringing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah,
mine is. Hear it?
He's being signed up right now, and there's an article on there that his phone is not ringing.
Oh, I feel so bad that his $15 million a year may go by the wayside. Doug, I got to get a commercial in here, and I got another caller. But God bless you, man. Thanks for your thoughts.
Take care of your senior centers out there, folks.
There you go.
If you can.
There you go. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget our buddy Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. Woo, baby. Now is the time to get all of those fruit trees trimmed. Yes, sirree, and all your tree trimming and your shrubs and everything. I'm telling you, this guy's the best. And don't forget, it's also time to be thinking about those sprinklers. Sprinkler repair and the installation. Call them today. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. You call him today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, and it is a good morning.
Yes, sir.
Zeb, many of our younger generation have no idea where this political correctness is going. It's going to globalism, communism, socialism, the Democratic Party, and they have no idea they're going to have to march to somebody else's tune if these different organizations take hold in this country.
Tony, you touched on something that I want you to elaborate on just a little bit in the time remaining in this segment. The younger generation, the millennials, etc., they are being led by the nose, by people like George Soros and Bernie Sanders and others, that socialism is the way to go. And it's absolutely going to end everything that America stands for. And these stupid younger people, not all of them, but many of them, these stupid younger people falling into the socialist trap, and that's what it is. It's a trap of control.
That's right, you're right. It is George Soros, Chuck Schumer and his Democratic Party. And if this younger generation is not careful, they're going to be the downfall of our country.
I couldn't agree more. I am so concerned about what's going on with these little snowflakes. Can you imagine somebody 30 years ago, 40 years ago, in a gymnasium or an athletic department at college, a couple of snowflakes walk in there and they say, oh, well, you got to take the scales out of the school because seeing those weight scales makes us feel inferior because we're overweight. Take them away. This is ridiculous, Tony.
Well, look what's happening with Walt Disney now since he's gone.
Yeah.
Gays and lesbians are starting to take over his programs.
Well, I think that the Disney Corporation, honestly, has turned into a sleaze. And if Mr. Walt Disney were alive today, I guarantee you heads would be rolling down the front of the driveway at Disney Studios.
Unfortunately, this kind of stuff is being accepted by our younger generation. And for you and I, it's not a good idea.
I agree with you. Always good to hear from you, my dear friend. Take care, Tony.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I love those folks, Mary and Tony in Twin Falls. We just had breakfast with them not too many days ago, and it was really enjoyable to sit and visit with them. Nice, nice people. When you talk about nice people, you've also got to talk about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Hey, what did he say? Well, I'm going to tell you. And the number to call, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And you, if you're having trouble hearing, need to call the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup and arrange for a hearing screening today. Don't put it off. Right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. Number to call, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Do it now. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning. I enjoyed that comment of that our young people might become the downfall of our nation. I think if we're paying attention, it's already fallen. Only thing I know for statistically we're number one in is believing in angels and incarcerating people. Check them stats and get back with me.
Oh, hold on a second there. Well, don't be so quick to... See, now that's the problem with young people like him. They didn't have the nerve or the intestinal fortitude to stay on the line and have a good conversation. That's my point about the left and liberals and these snowflakes today. I wanted to ask him questions about where he's coming from, and he hung up the phone. Not even a goodbye. The rudeness that is being displayed by the left is absolutely pitiful. And, sir, if you're still listening, how you treated that last phone call with me, you were very disrespectful, and you owe me an apology. That's terrible. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. But that was indicative of the whole left. Rude, won't let anybody talk. They want only their point heard, and then they hang up, or walk away, or cause trouble. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. Hey, you're right. I owe you an apology. I apologize for rudely hanging up on you. I didn't really mean to do that.
I don't like any... listen to me a minute, and I'm not going to chastise you again. When you call this program and you say something, you give me a chance to respond. You ever hang up on me again, you'll never be allowed to call in again. I'll guarantee you. Now, make your point so that I can respond.
Fair enough. My point was really just what we already know. Our nation's already in a falling state. It's not... We can't blame the next generation for it falling. We've been in the falling state since we've been dealing with this stuff for the last 8 years. And
okay, now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm going to respond. Easy.
This next generation, she is a commendable person to be on this planet. She meets and exceeds everything that we stand for, and so not fair to blanket everybody.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I appreciate it.
Wait a minute. Let me respond with you. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay, give me a break. Number one, in the comment I made a moment ago, sir, I said not all. And right away you jumped on me and said, well, I'm condemning a certain age bracket. No, I said not all, but many of them. That's exactly the words, and it's on tape. But you know, when you sit there and you say, well, the younger generation's doing this, there are a lot of good kids, and I've highlighted that on my program. But then also, my dear friend, there are a lot of worthless snowflakes out there that absolutely want a gimme, I don't want to work for it attitude, and that's where the problem is.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, but I agree but I believe those people exist in every generation.
More so today than ever before, because socialism is being preached and taught and catered to by leadership like Bernie Sanders, George Soros, and others. It's more prominent today than ever.
The direction they've taken us for a number of years. It's really a sad thing, and hopefully people will jump in and make America great again. That's what my hopes and dreams are.
Okay, you and I are on the same page there. You have a good day. Thank you for your call.
You too.
Appreciate it.
Zeb.
Okay, Zeb, calm down. Let's also tell you about what's going on at Snake River Auto Body and Paint. I'm really, really high on these folks. I'll guarantee you that if you've got a ding or a dent or something wrong with your four-wheeled wonder, yep, you give them a call, and it can be fixed, and you're going to just sit back in amazement and say, holy cow, what a nice job. Dan and Ken and the whole crew over there, holy smokes, they accept all insurances. They give you an estimate and schedule you for a repair, and you're going to be very satisfied. I've sent a lot of my friends in there, and they're all happy. You better believe it. And call them today, 734-5790, located at 404 4th Avenue West in Twin Falls, Snake River Auto Body and Paint. Absolutely the best. Let's also remind, Big Women's Seminar. My goodness sakes, coming up, and it's going to be on April 13th, and oh my goodness, the ladies are really going to have a good time at the Southern Idaho Women's Expo, and that's going to be sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. April 13th at the Best Western Burley Inn. And for businesses, boy, what a great opportunity for you to get a booth, and really show off your business and tell everybody what you do. This is going to be a great, great event. Call the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 679-4793. 679-4793, Southern Idaho Women's Expo on April 13th. Well, with that last exchange, probably a lot of people are going, I don't want to call him. He's in a bad mood. No, I'm not in a bad mood. But I don't like people that call in and won't give me a chance to respond to their statements so that we can have an interchange, or they ramble. I had a problem with a guest yesterday. A guest rambled for I timed it, 7 minutes, and never came up for air. Never gave me a chance to get involved and ask questions that a lot of you folks might want to know. I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that. And when statements are made and then people hang up the phone, not here. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. Let's see what else have we got in the news. The despicable rapper Snoop Dogg. Yeah, the name. I mean, come on. What a highly intellectual name. Snoop Dogg. Ay, ay, ay. Well, he made a video, if you didn't hear about this. Made a video for one of his new rap songs. And in it, they had a person that was dressed up and made up to look like President Trump. I don't know if you've heard this story or not. Well, then, in the middle of the so-called song, this Snoop Dogg picks up a pistol and goes over and shoots the person dressed up like President Trump in the head. Now, the left is absolutely doing all they can to denigrate and absolutely belittle this Trump administration. But now my point to you this morning would be, what would have happened to anyone, any entertainer, or any person that would have done a comparable video with the likes of Barack Obama? All heck would have turned loose. And the media and everyone would have said, go get this person, and whatever we can do to penalize them or incarcerate them or whatever, let's get them. But yet, here is this filthy, sleazy Snoop Dogg promoting a new rap song, put a C in front of the rap, and he shows himself shooting in the head with a fake gun President Trump. Nothing. Okay. Everything's fine. This world is turned upside down. And, you know, like I said, this garbage would not have happened. Not ever been thought of with Barack Obama. Do you remember, after Obama took office, remember the black masks that looked like Obama? And people were going to dress up as Barack and Michelle, and they were going to go out trick-or-treating or wear them to parties and everything. There was an outrage and an outcry from the left saying, why, this is racist. They can't do that to denigrate our president. Masks for Halloween are nothing new for presidents. Bill Clinton, Hillary, President Bush. Nothing new. But just because Barack Obama was black, oh, you weren't supposed to wear a mask. I've got a mask right here behind me on my shelf of Barack Obama. And I made the statement a couple of years ago. It's been 5-6 years ago. It's going to stay here, and the left isn't going to tell me what I can and can't have or what I can and can't put up on my office. I mean, this is ridiculous, but the left can be really upside down in their thinking and allow the video of a shooting of a president. And that's okay. Unbelievable. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. Yesterday, we started a new ad for Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. It is the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. And they just absolutely are inviting the public to visit their facility anytime for tours and check it out. They've got a beautiful patio in their backyard and hold barbecues outside in the summer, and they take their residents out to various community events. Believe me, Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. They maybe are small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most, serving our community. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you, please. Let's see, what else have we got here? Iowa Congressman Stephen King is in the news, and I totally agree with him. I know I'm going to take some heat over this from the left, but so be it. But Iowa Congressman Stephen King is absolutely right when he said the other day that our culture and our values in the United States are dying because our population is not having more children to be raised and appreciate and be educated in our American values. We are, and this is the truth, we are allowing the importation or the illegal immigration of people from other countries that come here and they don't assimilate and they raise their children to their own values and their own culture. And yes, Mr. King was right that in years to come, in the not too distant future, they will take over and fragment all that America stands for. Oh, my goodness. The left, the media, everybody, even members of his own Republican Party tried to come out and overshadow his words and saying, well, he didn't mean that, or he didn't mean to say it that way. And last night, I give the man credit. He got on television and he said, yes, I did. Yes, I did mean to say it that way. Yes, I did mean it that way. And I have the utmost respect for his courage and his backbone to stand up for what he said. Because honestly, many, many callers on this program, many, many guests on this program, and myself have basically said the same thing many, many times. Your thoughts. Call me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our weather, brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin. And Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. They're open 7 days a week, serving you and your family for the sprains and the cuts and the bumps and the bruises and the flu and everything else. You get a hold of them today. The Urgent Cares, serving you. Right now, here's the weather.
Well, there's a big possibility that spring has finally sprung here in the Magic Valley. For your 7th the Ranch weather forecast, Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. Looking for sunshine today. 67 going to be the high. Clear skies for tonight. Expecting a low just about 37. Then for Wednesday, sunshine and 67. Going to see just a little bit of a breeze, maybe right around 7-8 miles an hour. Now for Wednesday night, got about a 30% chance of rain, 43 the low, 20% chance of rain, and mostly cloudy on Thursday, a high of 58. As we moving into the weekend, looking for mostly sunny on Friday, a high of 63, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 66. Hopefully spring has sprung here in the Magic Valley. That is your 7th the Ranch weather forecast.
Very, very well done, Scotty. Thank you, sir. Maybe spring has sprung. Let's hope so. And brought to you by the Urgent Cares, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. All right, now, come on. Don't be a fraidy cat. Not going to jump on you. We can have a good conversation. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, quickly dial the number and come on the program, and we'll have a good back-and-forth conversation. Please. Lots of good people out there. I just will not take a one-sided conversation and then hang up. Please give me a call at 436-2244. Okay. What else? Oh, March Madness starts. Some of the games start today, I believe, and I left my bracket and all the games over on the other desk. But this week and next week, man, basketball. If you like basketball, and I love basketball, I like college basketball much, much better than pro. And if you like basketball, you're in for a treat. Just kind of get a big pillow by your lazy boy, sit back and enjoy, because it's going to be some great, great games. And some of the so-called know-it-alls, prognosticators, have said this year, more so than previous years, we may be seeing some of the smaller schools become prevalent and knock off some of the big shots. We'll see. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Bell.
Well, thank you for your call. I know that you and I can talk back and forth, and you're not going to hang up.
No, I'm not going to hang up. That person needs to grow some cojones.
Okay.
If they're going to call you and talk to you about stuff, they need to be able to have a little dialogue.
I would think, it bothers me that that's what we're coming to in this society, especially with the liberal left. Yell, scream, burn something down, and make your point, but then run away.
Yeah. There's just, you should be used to people like that by now. It still pisses you off, but you should be used to it.
Yeah.
This thing about, what's that rapper?
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, Snoopy. Why are we allowing the Snoop Dogs and the Beyoncés and all these people to come out and say they want to, blow Trump's head off or somebody should shoot him? I don't understand why we allow these people to do that.
Well, Donna, wait a minute. You made an excellent point right there. When it was said not too many days ago, Madonna came out and said that she had thought many, many times about blowing up the White House. Do you realize, and you do because you follow politics and you follow the news, that if someone like you or I or some other conservative or Republican made that kind of a statement, if Obama was still in the White House, the FBI, CIA, every intelligence agency in the country would be knocking on our door.
Oh, yeah, we'd be carted off in handcuffs, and we'd be down to the big house. I just don't understand. It's well known that Trump was not my first choice, but I respect the office and I respect what he is trying to do. If people would just shut the heck up and let him do his job, maybe people might change their mind. Some of these leftists and these Hollywood actors and these, I don't know, half of these people that are, calling for him to be assassinated and all that. People just need to stand up and quit letting them do it.
I agree.
They need to be in jail. They're threatening the President of the United States.
Amen. And it's been so blatant. Donna, I've got another call waiting, but you are always welcome, my dear. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too, my friend.
All right.
See you later.
Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I want to say hallelujah to what Donna had to say. And then I want to say that we Americans, especially the ones who should have smart children and ambitious children, this birth control kind of thing maybe, and I don't think I ever thought I would ever say this, but the smart couples need to be having more children because too many of the people are growing to be almost 100, and we're not producing enough children to keep the economy going and to support the wonderful things that we've promised to everybody.
What is so offensive, Chris, in a conversation to be really blatantly honest and say we are raising a nation of wannabes and gimmies, and we had better get back in our culture and in our population to raising children that have family values and moral values and work ethics and personal responsibility. What's wrong with saying that?
I think that what's wrong is not saying it. When we don't stand up for the American values, for the ethics that made this country great, and we need to be producing children that are going to carry on this thing. And I don't even think that there's anything wrong with making a number of immigrants that we will take and hold to it, because this is what's happening. We are being invaded and taken over on a quiet side.
Yeah, and you know as well as I do, Chris, and all you have to do is just study what's going on in Chicago, San Francisco, anywhere around the country, that families and broken families and mothers raising 14, 15, 16 children only to be recipients of welfare, and then when they grow up also receive welfare. We are raising a society of people with their hands out in a gimme world, and this has got to stop.
Well, and I think that that's another thing in this so-called welfare. There's reasons to help somebody who cannot help themselves. But if you think that producing a baby factory is making America great, it isn't.
Yeah.
Raise your 2 to 4 children, get them educated, teach them how to work, and we'll have a wonderful future. But if all of these 14 kids are on welfare and they go to the welfare office the minute they have their, first child, what is that doing? It's just drowning us.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm I'm in Stephen King's corner this morning, Iowa congressman, because I think he was right. And the left is tearing his words apart, but it's true. We are losing in this country, and I think you'll agree, our culture and our values.
Yes, I think that that's the thing. And we just cannot have people not be citizens. If they come here and live off of the spoils, then they are the big spoils.
I agree.
And we've got to change our attitude. And I think that maybe a president in the office right now could probably push some of this.
I
don't
hope.
know if you'll get it, but at least get the idea started.
I agree. Chris, good to hear from you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. God bless you. Hey, thank you very much to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Doing the right thing matters. Boy, that's the truth. And they're having a great big spring tire sale right now. And believe me, they've got tires for your cars, pickups, SUVs. How about the backcountry all-terrain tire for your pickups and SUVs? On sale now. Hurry on in and see all 7 locations, the closest one to you, and they will provide the best in tires, the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, but always, always the best in service. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got exactly 20 seconds. Any longer, and I'll have to cut you off. Go.
Oh, okay. Talking about the young people and putting blame on these new generations that come along, it's a generation before them that is the problem. These people, they raise kids. Some people shouldn't even have kids. I can say that. Maybe you can't, but I can.
Well, I'll say anything I want to on this program as long as it's not going to personally be obscene or attack any one individual, and I agree with you. Dwayne, call me back tomorrow on this subject. You got some good points, and I'm late for the news. I got to run, buddy. Thanks. All right, sir. Got to run. CBS News next. I'll be back in about 7 minutes with Frosty Woolridge. Don't go away. Oh, my. Roll on. Roll on. Here we go, hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Big, big tire sale going on right now, and also some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services urge you, if you're new in the area and you're going, what am I going to do with my garbage? Well, they've got a great answer. Just call them at 734-6969. Get on the route service. They'll come get your garbage. It's gone. Problem solved. All you have to do, call 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. They are the best. Oh, by the way, if you have a dog or some dogs and some kitty cats and steers, horses, whatever you've got, you want to take care of them. Absolutely, you are in charge to make sure they are healthy. And you need to contact Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Heyburn because they have warm hearts for cold noses. Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all, and they can take care of them all. So you have healthy animals. Absolutely. Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, the whole crew at Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. Call them 678-1177. Oh, and real quick, don't forget, coming up on April 13th, the Southern Idaho Women's Expo, sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance at the Burley Best Western Inn. And businesses, what a great opportunity for you to have a booth and tell everybody about your business. For booth registration, call 679-4793. That number again, 679-4793 for the Southern Idaho Women's Expo on April 13th. Right now, without further ado, on Tuesdays, we just gallop over the mountains to Golden, Colorado, and my dear friend, Frosty Woolridge. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
morning, Zeb. Always a pleasure. I truly look forward to our time together because for me it's just it's a mental journey. It's certainly a spiritual journey, and it's a fellowship and friendship journey. You and I have really just gathered a tremendous friendship over the years, and this telephone call each week really cements it, makes me feel great, keeps my week going. You inspire me. I know that you're working with all of these top interviews, with all of these top individuals who are really leading this country and exposing what's happening to our country. So I'm just thankful for this time with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, but you are one of those great guests on my program, and you have been right spot on for years and years in this country about your attitude and your actions regarding what we're losing in this country with illegal immigration and even legal immigration. Now, the reason I said it that way is this. In the last couple of days, Congressman Stephen King from Iowa has taken a bunch of heat, not only from the liberal left and the media, but also from some of his own Republican Party, because he came out and he was man enough to say the truth that our culture and our values in this country, America, are dying because our population is not having children to be raised up in our society with our values. And he said we're importing people from other countries and they're taking over with their values and their culture. Oh my goodness, the left and everybody else jumped on him and said how wrong he was and what kind of a bigot he was. I think you and I agree he's right.
Well, not only is he right, he's dead on the money, and you can see it all over Europe right now. I just listened to Pat Condell. Condell is a British citizen who is sharp as a tack, much like you and I, when he speaks about the Muslim invasion of Europe. And what's so amazing is that Europe has invited its own genocide. I mean, that's the European Americans have invited their own genocide. They are literally allowing an overwhelming invasion to conquer them. And the numbers are going to win out, and the Europeans are going to lose out. And, you know, some call it European genocide, white genocide, Caucasian genocide. But it's also happening over here. And not only did Stephen King, whom I've met, talk about this, we also have Tom Tancredo said the same thing here in Colorado. But again, because of the unbelievable naivete of Democrats who are literally, I don't know how do you describe them, but I guess the best way to describe Democrats is to look to Elizabeth Warren, a U.S. senator from, I'm not sure, Connecticut or Massachusetts or whatever she's from. And when she opens her mouth, she's so totally out of touch with reality. The same thing with a Maxine Waters out of California, or even Barbara Boxer or Dianne Feinstein. Both these women I think are over 80. One of them's like 84. So totally out of touch with what's going on in California, so totally out of touch what's going on with the deformation of America. And I guess that's the only way that I can call it. It's a deformation because, again, we're about to add this 100 million legal immigrants from all over the world, and again with 196 different world views, 196 different cultures, 100 and God knows how many different languages, and there's no way for the center of the United States to hold together. And I can't say it enough. And in fact, I'm on Facebook right now, and I just did a piece on diversity within a nation destroys the unity and leads to civil war.
Yes.
Immigration, a benefit during the youth of a nation, can act as a disease in its mature state. Too much internal diversity in large nations has led to violence and disintegration. We are now in the process of destabilizing the United States of America. The magic words of destabilizers are diversity and multiculturalism, unquote, by the social scientist Garrett Hardin. And I published that yesterday, and it talks about the endless immigration linked to America's fate. That's what I titled it. You can see it on Facebook, and you can see it on my Frosty Wooldridge Facebook page. And Ron Davies wrote in, and he says, Mr. Wooldridge, you are eloquent on every aspect of this. You need to start creating videos to educate the American public. We need your voice. His name was Ron Davies. And I think I've told everyone, and I've shared this, I've tried to get on 60 Minutes for the last 20 years now. I've tried to get on NPR with Robert Siegel. I've tried to get on Steve Inskeep. I've tried to get on Terry Gross. I've tried to get on the Charlie Rose program across that table. I've also tried to get on Matt Lauer and Diane Sawyer and Fox with Tucker Carlson. But I have to tell you, the powers that be, those in the media, the mainstream press, they do everything they can to avoid the sacred cow of immigration. And they won't touch the overpopulation aspect because it is a sacred cow. And so I don't know what else to do. And I've attempted to write columns there at newswithviews.com to have everyone write into Charlie Rose. I've given the email of Charlie Rose. I've given the email of 60 Minutes. And obviously not enough people have written in because there's still no conversation about the fact that we're going to add 100 million more immigrants, which will double the populations of our 35 most populated cities. But as you, and like Steve King, and certainly like Tom Tancredo, I will continue to speak out. And at some point, as the United States of America starts to go down, and I mean seriously down, sociologically, environmentally, or even economically with our $20 trillion debt, they're going to have to start listening to voices like ours, Zeb. And so you can bet I'm shoulder to shoulder with you. We make sense. We are common sense. We define common sense. We define the realities facing the United States. And we will continue, at least to some point, when our voices make a national attention, because we are coming to that point. I don't know if it's 10 years from now or 5 years from now, but we're going to keep speaking up, and I'm going to speak up with you.
Well, and here's something I would say in addition to your phraseology you just used on the sacred cow of immigration. I would encompass that with also saying the sacred cow of political correctness. The left and these absolute nitwits that are saying, well, you can't say that. No, that word offends me. And like what happened up in Ottawa, Canada recently, Frosty, at Carleton University. The snowflakes up there, they said, well, we can't have scales in the athletic building because some of us that are overweight, that triggers negativity. I mean, our society in general is absolutely going nuts with PC.
Again, you're talking common sense, and of course, common sense is not so common anymore. And as a farm boy, when I was a kid, doing silage, you don't stick your hands into the moving machinery. It's baling hay. You make sure and you're cutting hay, you don't get off the tractor and leave the tractor running, and you don't leave that doggone shears, continue to run off the PTO, and so forth and so on. Again, these snowflakes, all of these kids that are just not studying or don't know civics, don't know shop, don't have enough common sense to come in out of the rain or at least protect themselves, they're all going to learn the lesson the hard way. And the hard way is a really brutal way. And our country right now is going to learn this immigration crisis the hard way. Because, again, as the Muslims keep pouring into our country, we're going to have more beheadings. We're going to have more behandings. We're going to have more female genital mutilation. We're certainly going to have more arranged marriages. We're going to have gays are going to find themselves on the short end of the stick as they get stuck into Muslim, enclaves like Dearborn, Michigan, or like Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Fremont, California. Once you get into these nasty places, you get raped. You're just going to get raped. And that's what's going to happen to these snowflakes or anyone that literally wanders into a Muslim enclave, a no-go zone, which we now have in this country and certainly all over Europe. And yet even Sweden and Norway, they cover it up. At some point, the rapes are so great, the numbers are so great, because you have to understand, Muslims rape their women as a matter of course. It's just a matter of course. You're seeing it all over Europe, but these snowflakes, again, they just they want to overlook it. I'm astounded at how anybody can overlook somebody being raped. That just takes me to a whole new level of exasperation as to the snowflakes, as to the Democrats, as to political correctness.
Well, and here's something else, too. It's not all kids. In the first hour, I got into a rather heated debate over this. I have said many, many times on my program, I know a lot of younger people, whether they're 18 to 28, 29, 30 years of age, and they've got the drive, they've got the desire, they've got the guts, they've got the fortitude to push ahead, persevere, get their education, start a career, and be successful. But Frosty, today, with socialism becoming pushed by the Bernie Sanders and the Soroses and everything else, it's absolutely scary as to what's going to happen in a capitalistic society when you've got a great big number of these kids that want everything given to them, handed to them 24/7. We've got a caller. We'll take that, and then we'll have you respond. Stand by. Caller, you're on the air. Quickly.
Okay, good morning, Zeb and Frosty. Frosty, do you feel that these foreigners that are pouring into this country, all they have to do is come here and breed children and get all that money every month, and they'll never have to do another day's work in their life?
All right, I'll have him respond on the air. Frosty, please. Thank you.
Well, there's no question. You have to understand that virtually all of these immigrants coming into this country right now are sucking and leeching off the $113 billion across 15 federal agencies of welfare. That's yours, and that's my money. I work 50-plus hours a week. I bust my tail feathers, have my whole life. I've done hard work my whole life, and, of course, now in the later part of my life, I'm a writer, and I still work hard to give every reader across the country the straight scoop. But the fact is, these immigrants, the average Somalian that comes over here, ladies and gentlemen, dear Americans, fellow Americans, look it up on Google. Just look it up on Google. The average Somalian has a 68 IQ. 68 IQ. The average American has 100 IQ. That's a lot of points difference, folks. And so when you have such a low IQ, you barely have anybody can do much more than sweep a broom on a floor or drive a car. That's about it. They have no ability to function in a first world country. If you have a 68 IQ, you can't become an electrician. You don't have enough intellectual horsepower. You certainly can't become a plumber. You can't become a carpenter. You just don't have the ability to function. You have to understand, these people came out of the bush. They didn't even have a toilet. And so they come over here, and it's not their fault. This is not the immigrants' fault. It's we, the American people, and the people that are elected, your two senators, your House reps right there in Idaho, my two senators right here, Bennett and Gardner. They're the ones that are pushing for all of these immigrants to come into this country. The UN is pushing all of these Muslim immigrants coming in from Somalia, Ethiopia, from Sudan. And the churches, the Lutheran Church, the Catholic Charities, they're making money doing this, and we're paying for it. And so if we don't, as the American people, if we don't stop it by screaming at our elected officials and or taking them out with our votes. I mean, the mayor of a Vermont town just this last couple weeks just got voted out because he was in favor of bringing all these refugees into Vermont. You have got to take action. I can talk myself blue in the face, but I go down to Bennett, the senator, and I go down to Kaufman. I say, we can't do this. And you got to do the same thing and then vote them out if they don't follow what you want as a citizen. Again, this is a constitutional republic. We cannot sit on the sidelines and watch and think that our elected officials are going to do right by us, because obviously they aren't. Zeb. I hope that answered the question.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go one step further. We got about 5 minutes left in this interview. And I was absolutely appalled when I saw a video of the rapper Snoop Dogg. There's a highly intellectual name. And he had a person dressed up like Donald Trump, and he goes up with a gun and shoots him in the head. Now, the reverse, Frosty, had someone, you, I, anybody else on the right done something as despicable in a video to Barack Obama, you and I would be looking at a 6x8 cell because they'd come and haul us off.
That's exactly correct. And I remember that Snoop Dogg deal. He called Trump a clown. Who's a clown here? I mean, so again, you're seeing everything topsy-turvy. You're seeing everything. You're seeing reality turned upside down. And so again, I'm not sure. I just got a letter, an email from an individual. His first name is Art, and he's very astute, and he's in his 70s. And he said he's not sure that we're going to be able to save our country because he said, Frosty, you're totally correct. If we don't stop mass immigration, both legal and illegal,
right,
there's no way we're going to hold this country in the center because it's going to become everybody else's country. The same thing is happening to Canada. Justin Trudeau is on a path to destroy the entire ethos of Canada, and he's succeeding. And why the Canadians did this to themselves is the greatest question. And, of course, why we're doing it to ourselves is the greatest second question. And if we don't stop it, we're not going to survive this thing as Americans because, again, and I wrote this and I'm going to republish this piece, America becoming everybody else's country. And once that happens, folks, you're going to see unbelievable division in this country. There's going to be fracturing and fragmenting that there's no way to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. That's the U.S. of A. And I don't know what else to say or what else to do. But again, I'm going to keep bringing the truth. I'm going to keep bringing the facts, and you can see it occurring across this country, whether it's in Minneapolis, Minnesota, whether it's in Fort Morgan, Colorado, where all these Somalians have just literally taken over the town, or whether you're looking at Dearborn or Hamtramck in Michigan, and Detroit there, or Fremont, California, or in Miami, where it's becoming a Muslim enclave. I'm telling you, this thing is coming at this country like a brakeless train, and we're all going to get run over. Our communities are going to get run over. The mosques, I think there's close to 2,500 mosques now, and you have to understand that just like the one in Florida just a week ago, they've got weapons caches because, you know, if Islam was a religion of peace, why is the Middle East and all of Africa so war-torn?
Yeah.
Because Muslims always need an enemy. And if they don't have an enemy, they start killing themselves. But we're the enemy, and they get the chance to kill us. And we're importing them by the hundreds of thousands every year. And we've got to stop it if we hope to survive here, even to the year 2050, which is only 33 years from now.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do after our program is over today. I'm going to try to reach back in Washington, D.C., the offices for Iowa Congressman Stephen King. And I'm not only going to invite him if he'd like to come on for a few minutes on my program and give him thanks and kudos for what he said, but I'm also urging the audience, you included, Frosty, to send Iowa Congressman Stephen King a thank you for being open and honest with his remarks and not backing up and cowering when even members of his own party came after him and criticized him. I look at Stephen King as someone we should be proud of.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a hero, just like Tom Tancredo was a hero. I think it's Tom Cotton. I think it's Tom Cotton from Arkansas. He's the senator from Arkansas, kind of a young guy, and he said we need a drastic reduction on legal immigration. We got to support these particular individuals because they're the only ones with the common sense and they understand the numbers. And one of these people said, "Frosty, you have got to get on national TV." I'm trying to get on Tucker Carlson. I would love to sit in front of the 60 Minutes cameras. I would love to get in front of Charlie Rose, but you have to understand the paradigm that's in power there in New York and Washington, D.C., they don't want to have the facts. They don't want to have any kind of an understanding. They don't want to have this kind of a reality check from a guy named Frosty Woldridge or Stephen King, etc. They want to get the same old baloney, and all that continues is just the same old baloney. And we keep taking in these immigrants. We just keep fracturing, fragmenting, and overwhelming our own country.
Absolutely.
We've got to get a national plan. We've got to get top leaders, and we've got to support them. So yes, Steve King and all of the others that are talking like this, we have got to get them in front of the big cameras, and that's all there is to it. Because once you educate the American people, again, Roy Beck with that video, it's called Immigration, Gumballs, and Poverty. Once you see that video, and then you see the other one, Immigration Off the Charts, you can't go back and think that this is going to be a wonderful outcome with all this immigration. It's going to be a nightmare for all of us. And even it's going to be a nightmare for the immigrants because they're going to be in the middle of all this conflict.
Absolutely. Frosty, I'm running late. I got to run, but I say thank you. God bless you, and I'll see you next Tuesday. The best to you, my friend. Thank you.
Godspeed, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Take care. Always, excuse me for the frog in my throat, a very inspirational visit with my friend Frosty Woolridge. Holy cow, we got to pay some bills. Let's not forget our dear, dear friends over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, always serving you. And, you know, like I've mentioned many times, when there's the passing of a loved one, they can travel to the rural towns and the churches, and they can help you always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity with all the arrangements. Please remember the number. Please call them, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, waiting to serve you. I also want to acknowledge real quick some other good folks before we go to our next guest. And we have a lovely lady that's waiting on the phone here in a few moments. Let's Ride at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. Now is the time, if you have four-wheelers and you're getting ready to use them this spring and summer, by golly, now is the time to take them in there to Let's Ride to their service department. Have them all serviced and ready and ripping ready to go. All right, you go over there at 436-4771. Like I said, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4, and they've got all the accessories. They've got a showroom just chock full and a great service department. Stop over today. Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. And if you're in that neck of the woods, please do not forget our wonderful friends with Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Oh, my goodness sakes, great, dedicated people, very responsive to your needs, and accessible to helping you with your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more. Make an appointment today at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I really am looking forward to this conversation this morning, and I'd like to say good morning from the stream.org, Liberty McCarter. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
You know, Liberty, I got to hand it to you. Your article about the best feminist moments and how they put women to shame was very well done. I enjoyed it, and I'm just going to say this up front. I am very troubled with the unisex attitude in the United States and no more femininity and no more male leadership or politeness or courteousness. I think our whole society has turned upside down. You take it from there and tell us about your article.
Well, my argument in the article and kind of what I show over a few examples of some ridiculous stuff that happened last week is that the American feminist movement, I feel, has gone so far that it's just becoming ridiculous. This has gone far beyond the point of women's rights to where women who are some of the most privileged women in the world and some of the most free are pretending like they're the victims. And, for instance, last week, Brawny, the paper towel, brand, decided to launch this campaign celebrating strong women. Well, I mean, if you want to celebrate women, that's fine, but they did this by replacing the Brawny man, in the plaid shirt with a woman. And so I think it's kind of ridiculous because they wanted to show, quote, that women could be brawny too. But I'm like, okay, so I thought we didn't want to be associated with kitchen products. At least that's what I was picking up, from the last several years. But now, in order for women to be strong, we have to replace a brawny man on a paper towel packaging, just kind of stuff like that. And then there were more examples of, the women's strike that happened last week. Pretty much the only women who could go on strike were women who were probably well-to-do, had nice jobs, comfortable jobs where they could just take a day off, and it really put a lot of the working-class women, single mothers and such, who don't have that privilege to just take their jobs and leave. It put them in a hard place because they were having to make up for all the women who decided they would go stand in the streets for a nice photo op and prove what a good feminist they were. And meanwhile, there's actually women around the world who are having forced abortions. They're getting genital mutilation. They're not allowed to drive. They don't have legal rights. And over here, women are just concerned with, trying to look like victims. And I think it's quite insulting, and it makes women look really bad.
That was a good analogy of what's going on. But let me just say this, Liberty, and I'm going to use my wife as an example. We live in a rural area. We have chores to do outside. We have horses. We have cattle. Things have to be cleaned up. Things have to be taken care of. My wife is right there helping me. And when we decide to go out sometime on the town, my wife can and is one of the most feminine, beautiful ladies ever. And I'm very, very proud of her. But I am sick and tired of the feminist movement trying to downplay and denigrate people like men in particular that want to be polite, want to open doors for women, and respect women. Why are they trying to take away that 7-letter word, respect?
That's a good question. And I think that the modern feminist movement is really missing out on something special. As a Christian, I obviously believe that men and women are created equal in God's eyes, but that they're also different. And part of the thing that, I like being a woman, and I feel that I have a lot of things about me that are very unique that, a man can't do, such as my ability to carry a child and give birth, just to start off with the most basic. But I think that those differences should be celebrated and that you shouldn't downplay that because it actually takes away part of what makes being a woman unique. And just that idea of, respect. There's nothing wrong with a man holding a door open for a woman or showing respect and admiration and appreciation. And, but we've just gone so far in our culture, has just, it's kind of changed from like the good kind of feminism where, women should be able to vote, women should have equal rights. Obviously that's true, but now it's just gone to the total extreme where all they want to do is put men down. And I think that's really really too bad.
Liberty, I watched and I was mad when I listened to the silly, frivolous, uneducated verbiage of some of the women that were spokespeople for the A Day Without Women March. And I thought, my goodness sakes, I've got more respect for a toilet plunger than I did these women that were out there using filthy language and basically denigrating a society that wants to do things on an equal basis, but the women were out there cutting them down and denigrating them.
Yeah, it was really a sorry sight. And when the women's strike was first announced several weeks ago, several kind of leading feminists, I guess, came out in this op-ed for The Guardian kind of trying to explain what they were doing. Because honestly, it wasn't very clear. It wasn't well organized. I feel like if you're going to walk out from your job, you should have a clear goal in mind. They didn't really have a clear goal, but part of the things they claimed was that, there was widespread violence against women, and they weren't talking about domestic abuse or women being raped without consequence over in Middle Eastern countries. They were talking about women not having access to free abortion. And that was their idea of violence against women. And then they say they want to stand up for the working class women and maybe women who are a little bit underprivileged or need financial help, but then they wanted to do that by blocking highways and taking the days off work. And they just seem to completely ignore the fact that those working class women weren't able to take a day off because they were going to have to be the ones, along with the men in the world, running the world while these other women took a day off to protest not having free abortions. And that's really kind of what it boiled down to, was that level of ridiculousness. And they're just, that very same day that the women's strike took place, the Heritage Foundation hosted a panel, and there was a woman from China, her name was Yue Zhang, and a lot of people don't really realize, I guess, that China still very strictly enforces their two-child policy to the point where if you get pregnant out of wedlock or if you have more than 2 children, they will force you to either get sterilized or have an abortion. And that's what this woman had. She was 6 months pregnant. She wasn't married. Government officials came to her house, forced her into a van, took her to the hospital, held her down on the table, and forced her to have an abortion. And so that's what that woman was doing while all these other women were having their strike. She was telling her story. But ironically, they're not really talking about that, which is something that if you want to help women, maybe you should focus on.
Let me ask you this. When they had the Day Without Immigrants, and many, many immigrants didn't tell their employers and the others that joined in, and they left their jobs, and they left their employers in the lurch, I said on the radio, every one of those people should be fired. Every one of them had total disrespect for their job and the wages that were being paid to them. Then when they had a Day Without Women's March, many school teachers left the school districts in a lurch with nobody in the classroom, which had a domino effect all the way back to the parents because the classes were canceled and the parents were working. They had to take off work. They had to hire babysitters, whatever. How can you have respect for people that don't have respect for themselves?
Yeah, I think, I had no desire to go on strike, obviously, but, even if I had liked the idea of a strike, I feel like, I worked really hard to go to college. I worked all the way through college. I'm still paying off my loan. I worked really hard to get the jobs that I've had. I don't think of it as I worked extra hard because I'm a woman, but I guess if you want to say that, you can. So why on earth would I just walk out of my job? There's women in other parts of the world that aren't even allowed to drive legally, they're not able to hold jobs or do anything. And so why would I take something that I view as a blessing and walk out? If I want to make a difference, then I'm going to work harder, and I'm going to try to do my job better, and I'm going to continue pursuing ways that I can work to actually make a difference. So, yeah, I think it was, and then, the schools that had to shut down, and the people that were not just inconvenienced, but it was really more than an inconvenience. Now the kids that, just had no place to go because maybe their mom was a single mom and she couldn't take off work to take care of them. I just thought that was really, really irresponsible.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question, and it's a very simplistic question, and Liberty, I want you to think about it. When you look at the Madonnas, and you look at the Ashley Judds, and you look at all the spokespeople that they had for their so-called women's rights march, etc. Honestly, in your opinion, what do they really want? What is the bottom line? What are they craving? What are they demanding? What do they really want?
That's a good question. I think maybe what some of these people want is just relevance. People like to be the victim, and I think in recent years, the feminist movement has gone from just being about women's rights, like the original feminist movement, and has, I think we're starting to see this trend not just with feminism, but in a lot of areas in our society where we're really kind of going backwards and starting to portray certain groups of people as the victim more than they really are. And I think people, they like kind of being the victim sometimes, and they want that that drama, they want that relevance to feel like they're doing something. And maybe our culture has also gotten a little bit spoiled. I mean, a lot of these women who are going out and marching, they could go to China or support groups that are helping women and children and people internationally or that have real problems. So we're just so self-centered that we think that it's all about us and that we're the real victims, and so we have to go march in the streets. So I really don't know, but I think it has to do with self-centeredness and a search for relevance, maybe.
I will say this, and I mean this. Wait a minute, I got a phone ringing here, and it's not for this program. There you go. I will say this. I believe that 99.9 of the marching and all the stupid remarks that were made by Madonna, like, I've been thinking a long time about blowing up the White House. I honestly think those remarks and the marchers were there for only one purpose, to absolutely generate the left into more hatred and more dissension against our government and especially this administration. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think a lot of this, the initial Women's March was literally organized in a response to Trump, and even then there was a lack of cohesiveness. It wasn't like, okay, women, we're marching for the right to vote today. No, we're just marching because we're mad that Trump got elected. And then, that momentum was kind of carried into the strike. Again, no one really knows exactly what it's about, but now they're just, angry in general. And I think it really is just anger. And you don't have to be a Trump supporter. You don't have to like the president. You don't have to have voted for him. But, I mean, there are numerous ways and better ways to make a difference and get your point across than going and marching or striking, continuing to do so. And I think, what have they really accomplished other than, mainstream media just tweeting out pictures of, these women and as if they made some kind of a big statement, but all they're doing is having a big kind of tantrum because they still don't like the outcome of the election.
I look at Ivanka Trump, and I look at Trump's daughters, and I look at the beauty, and I look at the very quiet, subtle power that they possess. Have you really looked and studied the faces on those women? They are in power, but yet they don't flaunt it. They are in power, but they're not seeking more, and they're not demanding, and they're not denigrating themselves. And I think that's the absolute epitome of what women should do today. Work hard, represent themselves in a very professional manner, and absolutely we can all strive for the best. But when you have people like Madonna and Ashley Judd and others with their foul mouths at these events, all they're doing is denigration. Would you believe, or do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I've been a fan of Ivanka Trump for a long time. I just used to have this organization, Women Who Work, and it was all about pointers for women and their careers, everything from preparing for an interview to asking for a promotion to, fashion tips. So I think she's a great example of a professional woman, and I think it's just, it's just kind of common sense. I mean, no matter who you are in leadership, working hard, being courteous, being humble, go after your goals. But, you don't have to, like you said, the Madonnas who are out in front of the White House leading chants and talking about wanting to blow up the White House, and that's not a good example of professionalism for women or anybody.
Let me ask you one final thought, Liberty. As much as you studied this before you wrote the piece and your thoughts personally and people that you associate with, is this kind of incompetency from Madonna and Ashley Judd and others, is it on the wane? Is it on the way out? Are we going to finally just watch them fade over the horizon and common sense is going to prevail? Or are we going to see more of this kind of trash?
I've actually seen a lot of women who are frustrated with this particular movement. A lot of women did have responses like, well, hey, what about those of us who can't just take off work to walk out of our jobs and go rally in the streets, or who don't want to take off work? And I think people are starting to see that this is, impractical. There's even a very quickly growing segment of secular pro-life feminists who are women. They're not religiously affiliated, but they're just like, hey, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. If we want to fight for women's rights, then what about the unborn girls and mothers' wombs? And so that's kind of, I think you're seeing that trend maybe with the up-and-coming generation of realizing how ridiculous and hypocritical this is. They want to actually make a real difference, and I think that they're starting to see that this isn't doing that. This is just a giant temper tantrum.
That was a great way to wrap up this segment. Liberty McCarter with thestream.org. You are welcome here anytime. Thank you very much for your comments here this morning.
Thanks. It was great.
All right. Thank you very much. Nice lady right there. And I have total respect for her. She's written some really, really good pieces, and I respect this one. And Liberty McCarter is her name, from thestream.org. Thank you very much. I listened to, like I said, on the news and various other sources about some of the verbiage and the filthy language that these women were using for that Day Without Women. And then you listen to Madonna. Oh boy, there's a real role model for your daughters. And then Ashley Judd and some of these others. And all they've done is just back themselves, I think, into a trash compactor, because of what they said and what they did. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs. These are the professionals working for you with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, business consulting, payroll services, retirement planning. The list goes on and on and on. And my dear friend Leiden Crane, very fluent in Spanish and can offer any of the services in Spanish. They've got 2 locations to serve you in Burley and Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs. Right now, here's old Scotty with the weather.
Well, there's a big possibility that spring has finally sprung here in the Magic Valley. For your 7th the Ranch weather forecast, Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. Looking for sunshine today. 67 going to be the high. Clear skies for tonight. Expecting a low just about 37. Then for Wednesday, sunshine and 67. Going to see just a little bit of a breeze, maybe right around 7-8 miles an hour. Now for Wednesday night, got about a 30% chance of rain, 43 the low, 20% chance of rain, then mostly cloudy on Thursday, a high of 58. As we moving into the weekend, looking for mostly sunny on Friday, a high of 63, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 66. Hopefully spring has sprung here in the Magic Valley. That is your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast.
Very well done, Scotty. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, CPAs. One moment, caller. I'll be right there. Don't forget they've got locations at 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. The best serving you. Well, good morning, caller. How are you?
Yeah, just a quick comment this morning about Snoop Dogg and Madonna. The danger they pose to you and I is they have the money to hire somebody to do just what they were talking about.
Well, it's true, but I mean, when I looked at that video that was produced by, I even hate to say his name because it sounds so juvenile and so stupid, Snoop Dogg, when he picked up that gun and then fake gun, even though everything was fake and it was all theatrical, shooting a so-called lookalike of Donald Trump in the head, the image was there, the insinuation was there, and it just shows how absolutely low and dirty and vile the left is.
Well, what we need is to get down to our fairgrounds, hundreds of us, and have a little peaceful demonstration down there.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tony, people like you, me, and others, we've got to stand up. We've got to become more vocal. We've got to be more involved because the left, with their stupid, frivolous, socialistic ideas, demeaning our society for what it has been and what it should be in the future, we've got to fight back, buddy.
Well, Frosty is right. You know, they're going to come over here and they're going to overpopulate because they're getting free medical and free this and that. And 20 years down the road, this country is going to be totally different from you and I remember.
I totally agree with you, my dear friend. God bless you, Tony. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, Zeb.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Thanks. Absolutely agree with that man. Calls are welcome. I've got time for another one. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I did not tell you yesterday, and I apologize. I am going to have a super guest on at 10:30 this morning, David Horowitz. Yes, you've seen him on all the newscasts. Yes, you've seen him on all the networks, and he's going to be here at 10:30 this morning discussing his new book, Big Agenda, President Trump's Plan to Save America. And we've had David on before, and we're looking forward to having him on this morning at 9:30, so stay tuned for that. While I, again, am waiting for your call, that I can just feel it. It's coming in. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Absolutely. And they're looking for full and part-time positions to be filled. Retirement folks, you're welcome. Come on, get your employment application in there. Absolutely. They'll work around your schedule 2 or 3 days a week, and you're home every night, and they've got new and maintained equipment, great vacation schedule, and benefit package. What are you waiting for? Call Dale and Paul at 438-8886 or Alan in Twin Falls 731-2495 or Russ over in Burley at 431-7175. Ag Express is looking for drivers. They're looking for you. Call them right now. All right, come on, give me a jingle. I'll get time for one real quick call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I didn't comment on this too much the other day, but I am highly offended. And people say, well, why, if you're offended by the USA Today newspaper, why do you subscribe to it? Why do you read it? That's why right there. I want to know what the idiotic left is doing, saying, and printing. And here was an article in the USA Today a couple of days ago, and it was written by Matthew Tully, and the headline was, "Practice It, President Pence." The whole gist of the article was the left is going to do all they can to get rid of Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, the first line of the story was this: "It seems quite reasonable to consider the possibility that Donald J. Trump will leave the presidency at some point before the end of this term." Oh, really? And they say, practice it, President Pence. You know, whether you like Donald Trump or not, whether you like the way he conducted himself in the campaign or not, whether you like his policies or not, he is the President of the United States. He is making changes, in my opinion, that whether he's going about it the right way or the wrong way, he's going about it. And I do agree that America's got to do something now because we're going in the dumpster. And the total denigration from the left and the media and the Democrats against this presidency, absolutely unheard of any time before, I think, in our history. No president, in my opinion, has ever been treated this poorly by the left and by the opposition. And they are doing and saying everything they can to basically usher him out the door right now. Impeachment! We got to impeach him! Or practice it! Say President Pence! I mean, this is ridiculous. The Schumers and the rest of them, why don't you just shut up, do your job, and try not to be partisan, but to make America better. We're going to take a little break for a few minutes, and then we're going to come back with Dr. History. And following Dr. History, then David Horowitz right here on our program. So enjoy the day. It's beautiful out there. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be back. Wheels, take it away. Oh, my goodness. Good morning. What a day outside. My. I've got spring fever. I think I'll broadcast live and direct outside on the porch tomorrow morning. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and also some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them 734-6969. We're going to have our next segment in a few moments. Stand by, but I want to also remind you again about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Oh, these are such nice people that really care for people. The only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area, and they're able to provide more one-on-one care. And they have a beautiful patio in the backyard, and they hold barbecues and other summertime activities, and they invite the public to visit their facility anytime for tours and just check them out. Autumn Haven Assistant Living Center. Nice people at Autumn Haven at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. And remember, they're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Oh, my goodness sakes. And also, don't forget, too, our dear friends at Ag Express. They're saying, hey, we need drivers. They need drivers at Ag Express. Call Dale and Paul at 438-8886, Allen in Twin Falls at 731-2495, and Russ in Burley at 431-7175. Ag Express is looking for drivers, full and part-time positions, and even us retired folks, too. Whatever works best for you, 2 or 3 days a week, they'll help you in your home every night. Vacation schedules, benefit packages, you call Ag Express today. Ag Express Incorporated, looking for drivers. You give them a call. Right now it's time for one of my very favorite segments on the radio, and that's, of course, Dr. History. And Dr. History brought to you by Mini-Cassia Sales. Hello, Zach. 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Right across from the airport. Number to call, 878-2091. We're going to be telling you about all the doors and the windows and everything else in just a little bit, but right now, long distance, here's Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
Well, you old goat, where are you now?
You know what? We left and we traveled from pretty much the Oregon Trail from the Snake River in central Idaho, there where we live, and right up through Boise, through Oregon, along the Columbia, and I'm not too far south of Fort Astoria, and it's just kind of neat to travel the old Oregon Trail somewhat.
Oh, those of us in our society that have the ways and the means and the blank checkbook can do whatever they wish.
Well, my wife loves the Oregon coast.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Well, now, all that being said, you are not in my studio today. You are somewhere out in the hinterland, but still, we're going to have a great historical and sometimes hysterical review. What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to go back into the land of your birth, somewhat.
Oh.
Okay. Wisconsin and Minnesota and that area.
Really?
So, this is probably about when you were born, so I think this will be interesting.
Okay.
So, in the early 1600s, as fur trappers and French explorers from Canada pushed farther west through the dense forests of what are now Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, they began to send back pretty startling reports about a tribe of wild white Indians with blonde hair and blue eyes. And they kind of ruled the northern plains. Now, have you heard of these people, Zeb?
You know what? I'm sitting here with kind of a blank stare on my face. I did not know of a so-called Indian tribe with blonde hair and blue eyes. I know all about that country very well, about the Indian tribes in Minnesota and Wisconsin, but you got me on this one.
All right, well, we'll keep going here. These white Indians, the Frenchmen reported, were very tall, well-built, powerful. They were courageous. They were armed with huge stone, what they called skull crushers, which were attached to the ends of flexible leather thongs about 10 feet long, and they could swing and crack a skull with pretty deadly accuracy. They had the neighboring other Indian tribes completely terrorized, and even the ferocious Sioux were afraid of them. Now, more astonishing than anything else, the Frenchmen reported were the women who were fair-skinned long blonde braids, blue eyes, exceedingly beautiful, very clever. The famous French explorer Champlain wrote in his diary in 1650, now that's a long time ago, that he had been so intrigued by the stories he'd heard about these Indians, and these are the Mandan Indians. I know you've heard of those.
Oh, I have, yeah.
And someday he hoped to visit them and stay with them for a while. So in 1632, the French explorer by the name of Lejeune noted in his diary that some friendly Algonquins had told him a fascinating story about a tribe of white, fair-haired Indians who lived in wooden houses and towns actually resembling those of Europeans. He also wrote that someday he hoped to investigate those people and learn something about their history. And that's where we're headed.
Oh, my.
As more and more fur trappers and mountain men began to explore the rivers and the mountains and the territory, these astonishing tales just got more and more. And anyway, they reported that the tribe spoke a peculiar Sioux dialect, but it was interspersed with Scandinavian words, and that many answered to Northern European names like Magnus and Murdoch. You don't hear those names generally among Indian tribes.
No.
But in 1738, the French governor of Canada commissioned a guy by the name of de la Vérendrye. Now, I'm guessing at that pronunciation, but anyway, he had him outfit an exploration party to visit the Mandans and solve the mystery. Well, after weeks of tramping through the dense forests, fording rivers and streams, and avoiding the hostile Indians, this Vérendrye guy and his party of 30 men approached a Mandan village on the banks of the Missouri. Now, they were pretty much impressed to find the village surrounded by a tall log palisade for protection. All around the wooden wall, the valley was neatly tilled and planted with corn, tobacco, beans, squash, melons. I mean, it was really a very nice place. So the explorers were immediately surrounded by a great throng of these Mandan Indians, and they were expressing great joy and excitement at being visited by other white men. About one-fifth of the Indians had white skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes.
Wow.
Now, this Vérendrye guy and his party, after presenting the Indians with gifts and trinkets, they were escorted from village to village in the Dakotas and back through Minnesota. The Frenchman returned convinced that these Indians had an altogether different origin from any other tribe he had ever met. Now, although they spoke a language similar to that of the Sioux and seemed to have derived from the Sioux, they were not hunters. They didn't hunt and did not possess, I guess, if you want to call it the savagery of some of the other Indian tribes. They never put on war paint. They were simply a peaceful people living primarily with agriculture. Now, they did trade farm products for buffalo hides and meat, and the Sioux highly respected them. So that kind of gives you an idea that these guys were ferocious when they needed to be. Now, marauding bands who occasionally drifted into the area avoided the white Indians because they had learned that when it came to battle, the Mandans, wielding their huge club-like skull crackers, were pretty fierce at hand-to-hand fighting. And they were known to be relentless pursuers who after battle, they would stalk their attackers, and they'd go way into enemy territory and wouldn't turn back until they'd accomplished what they needed to do with their skull crackers. Now, this Vérendrye guy also noticed that the Mandans differed from the Sioux in their respect for an enemy that they killed in battle. Now, the Sioux would sometimes cut off the fingers of the left hand, and they would make gold necklaces out of them as a war trophy. Now, the Mandans, they were terrified. They thought this was a bad thing, and so they actually buried their dead foes with full honors. Now, the Mandan houses were usually clustered in the center of the village and were built of logs. They actually had rooms separated by walls. The sleeping quarters were apart from the living and eating quarters, and the Vérendrye guys agreed that in many respects, their houses were a lot like those in the Scandinavian countries. Is this a good time for a break, Zeb?
Yeah, it is, and I've got a whole bunch of questions, but I think if I ask, I might ruin the end of your story. So I'll just interject here about Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, and, of course, all the overhead doors, interior doors. I know about the interior doors because we bought one from Zach and the crew, and they even sent over a man to install the door in our house. Excellent people working for you. They can replace and upgrade your windows. They got the very best deals on carpet and all kinds of vinyl, luxury vinyl planking. It's all there along with a great personality, a helping personality at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, bringing you Dr. History. Take it away, my friend.
Okay. Now, I like this story, Zeb, because it's taken actually from the diary of some of these men that actually explored there. So,
okay.
In his diary, this Frenchman wrote, quote, "This tribe is partly white and partly red-skinned. The women are extremely beautiful, especially those who are white, some of whom have lovely, fair hair. Both men and women are very industrious. Their lodges are big and spacious. Nothing is left lying around. All objects are placed in large bags suspended from posts. The men are tall, strong, courageous. They are very active and of good appearance with pleasant features. Their women do not look in the least like a normal Indian." But for many years thereafter, the Mandan villages became a favorite stopping-off place for the French fur trappers and American mountain men, and many of these guys were so fascinated by the pleasant life and the beauty of the women that they married into the tribe. So, they liked what they saw. Well, in 1804, in the midst of a blinding snowstorm, the Lewis and Clark expedition, they were lost, they were starving, they were almost frozen to death. They stumbled into a Mandan village, and there, of course, they were immediately welcomed by the tribe and spent a good winter in the comfort of warmth of their log homes. And in the spring, there was a chief by the name of Shahaka, or Big White, as a gesture of friendship for the other white men, guided the expedition partway up the Missouri and then said goodbye to them. And, of course, we know from Lewis and Clark's journals that on their return trip, they again stopped off at the Mandan village and persuaded this chief, Big White, who was also fair-haired and had white skin, to go back east with them. Now, sometimes that didn't work out very good, but this one did. Upon their arrival in Washington, D.C., President Jefferson asked Chief Big White to visit him. The chief then toured some of the eastern cities. And anyway, he returned home, and for many years after that, the Missouri Fur Company enjoyed exclusive trading rights with the Mandans, and that was through Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the Dakotas. Now, in 1835, there was a guy by the name of George Catlin. Now, this guy was a famous American artist who traveled freely among all the wild tribes of the West and painted them. Well, he accidentally came across the Mandans, and in pure astonishment, he wrote, quote, "A stranger is first struck by the different shades of complexion and various colors of hair which he sees among this crowd of Indians." And he's, you're almost wants to say, well, these are not Indians. Well, there are a great many of these people, he goes on to say, whose complexions appear as light as anything, and amongst the women, particularly, there are many whose skins are almost white, with the most pleasing, and he says, symmetry and proportion of features, with hazel, with gray, and with blue eyes, mildness and sweetness of expression, excessive modesty of demeanor, which render them exceedingly pleasing and beautiful. Now, that's what this George Catlin is quoted as saying. And in fact, he goes on to say the Mandans are certainly a very interesting and pleasing people in their personal appearance and manners, differing in many respects, both in looks and customs, from all other tribes which I have seen. Keep in mind, this guy's traveled through a whole bunch of western part of the United States, and so he'd be a pretty good expert.
Okay.
So, anyway, the Indians had these nice lodges. They advanced in their arts, their manufacture. They were just an amazing group of people. And this Catlin guy figures that they must have come from, there had to be some other source as to what's going on here. But anyway, soon after George Catlin visited the Mandans, the first wave of land-hungry settlers started to push through the Ohio Valley, and you can probably tell what's coming. And up the Missouri, they brought with them the traders, the whiskey peddlers, the outlaws, the gamblers, the thieves. And the fur companies, now in open competition with others, began to exploit the Indians, and the Mandans found themselves being robbed, cheated, and unfortunately a favorite trick of some of the company was to get the Indians drunk, and after the Indians had kind of been run out and one thing another, they would steal their furs. And in 1 year alone, it is estimated that 22,000 gallons of whiskey was distributed free to the native Indians, and of course they stole their furs. But the Mandans in 1837 were preparing to take up arms and to protect themselves when suddenly a severe smallpox epidemic hit the first village.
Uh-oh.
Well, hundreds of men, women, and children lay dying in agony. Those who were able to fled to neighboring Mandan villages in the hopes of escaping the disease. Well, instead, they merely spread it. And families fled in panic from one village to another. And within one brief year, the Mandan population of about 1,800 was reduced to 23 men, 40 women, and 60 to 70 children.
Oh, my goodness.
And we know that this happened throughout the West because they didn't have any resistance to these diseases. So I'm kind of going on here, Zeb. I can't hear if you want to say anything.
Well, I tell you what I would like to do. I think we have a caller with a question for you, and we're down to the last 4 minutes. So, caller, quickly, go ahead, please.
All history of the Mandan said that a white man came walking into their village about year 1000, thereabouts. And there were 5 princesses that mated with him, and he moved on. And they figure he was probably one of Leif Erikson's or Eric the Red's people trying to go home, going west.
Yeah.
And also, it is still tradition up there that they are a white race.
You know, and I've heard that too, and I was going to comment on that. Doc, thank you for that point. Dr. History, I was going to bring up the fact that I had heard the Norsemen and Leif Erikson and the other Vikings, if you will, coming into that area, had basically stimulated that race and that tribe called the Mandans. What's the history behind that before we wrap it up this morning?
Okay, they found a stone in, when was it? They found a stone called the Kensington Stone, and they figure it was written in 1362. And on this stone, it says, quote, "We have 10 of our party by the sea to look after our ships. 14 days' journey from this island." So this was a Viking inscription, and but what were the Vikings doing in central Minnesota, hundreds of miles from the coast? Well, this was a small party who had become lost, maybe, aimlessly wandering around, or they may have been part of a bigger expedition. But the experts figured that this was a Viking group of men.
Right.
Now, what the other guy said just now about one person, that could have been it, but this Kensington Stone was discovered and dated to precisely 1362.
All right, now where was that?
One thing another, they figured that was from Viking explorers that had joined the Mandans and stayed with them long enough to have children, of course, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and so that's another explanation of the Mandan Indians' culture.
Okay, now let me ask you, Doc, where was exactly the Kensington Stone found? I know a little bit about that, but where was the exact location?
Let's see. Well, right now it's on display at the Smithsonian Institute. I'm not sure. It was. I'd have to look and see exactly where it was found.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'd have to do some research.
I thought
it was found up in that area among where the Mandans were living.
Right. I thought for a minute, and we've got a bad connection here. I know you can't hear me sometime, and I'm down to the last couple of minutes, but I thought it was found over by the Great Lakes, over by Lake Michigan, but I could be wrong. Check that out. We've got another caller with a quick question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air real fast.
Yeah, I guess this disproves the Columbus fairy tale, and I never heard about this any history class in the schools I went to.
Oh, yes, you surely should have.
Yeah, we should have, but this is the first I've heard of that.
They've even named, as Dr. History can well attest, Mandan, North Dakota. Isn't that correct, Dr. History?
I believe so.
Yes.
But, you know, if you read about the Vikings and their ships, they explored a lot of territory.
Yes.
And it makes sense that maybe some of them got left behind or got lost. And according to, like I said, this Kensington Stone, year 1362, written in the Viking language, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Right. Well, listen, do some research on that because, you know, that area I know quite a bit about studying at the University of Wisconsin and the University of Minnesota. And I'd like to talk to you more a little bit about that next week. Speaking of next week, quickly, I'm almost out of time. Where on your journey of here, there, and everywhere are you going to be?
I think we might be in St. George.
Oh, my. And so,
I have about 10 seconds here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, in 1930, there was a guy that found something hard and metal, and he got some dynamite, blew it up, and when the rubble cleared, he found a Viking grave complete with sword, battle axe, hand grip, and shield, and museum authorities carefully removed them, and definitely dating back hundreds of years. And since that time, there's been 9 other finds from Minnesota and Michigan to Massachusetts of Viking burials and artifacts.
And that's one of the big reasons why the Vikings have never won the Super Bowl.
Well, maybe they did it to practice more. I don't know.
All right. Hey, Doctor, have a great time on your tour. Have a great time with your family. And God bless you, and thanks for calling in this morning.
You bet. Talk to you later.
All right, take care. Dr. History brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, with Zach and the crew serving you, Minnecasia Sales. Right now, I also want to remind you we have another great big segment. A lot of people tune in on Thursdays for Cassia County School Days, brought to you by the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley, for your outpatient surgery and save you a lot of money, whether it's on colonoscopies, tonsil operations, glaucoma surgery, foot and knee surgery. Call them today and find out more. The Ambulatory Surgery Center at 677-8888. Give them a call, 677-8888. Along with A Child's World. Everything's still half off. My goodness sakes, half off. Half the store still continues. They've got great merchandise. All the clothing for the kiddies, and of course all the games, puzzles, and the books, and of course the Cherokee scrubs and shoes. All of this and so much more at 1308 Overland in Burley. It's the Child's World, along with Ambulatory Surgery Center, presenting Cassia County School Days on Thursdays on Zeb at the Ranch. Right now we're going to take this break and come back with David Horowitz and his book, Big Agenda, President Trump's Plan to Save America, right after the break.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you. We're on the home stretch for our program this morning. And quickly, before we get our guest on the air, I want to remind everybody, the Southern Idaho Women's Expo, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. Going to be taking place on April 13th at the Best Western Burley Inn. Don't forget, businesses, a great place, a great time for you to really show your business, tell everybody what you are and who and what you do. Everything right there at the Burley Inn for the Southern Idaho Women's Expo. For booth spaces, call 679-4793. You take care of that today. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and I'm very honored to have this gentleman back on my program again. He was here one other time, and we're going to be talking about his brand new book, a book, by the way, that I am Friday morning going to go and find and read. I'm very interested in it. Good morning to David Horowitz with his new book, Big Agenda, President Trump's plan to save America. Good morning, David. How are you?
I apologize, sir. I've been trying to get him on the phone, and I left him a voicemail. I did send you a text, but I'm still trying to get a hold of him.
Not good. Not good. Well, you keep trying over there, would you? After that great big introduction, we got to have him on. Okay. Keep trying, my friend. I would appreciate it. And I'm sure that something happened in the exchange on the different times and zones and whatever. Maybe that's the reason. But we've had David on our program in the past, and hopefully we can get him back on here again this morning. Great book, too. The Big Agenda book, President Trump's Plan to Save America, and I really am interested in having him on the program. Wheels, did I hear you?
Yes, sir. I have him on the phone for you.
Very good, very good. I went through the great big introduction, and I won't do it again, but I'll say good morning, David Harowitz. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
David, I got to ask you this first and foremost. I was going through your bio, and I noticed that you graduated from the University of California at Berkeley. How did you come out of there so normal and so conservative?
I did.
No.
I was raised by card-carrying communists. I considered myself a Marxist revolutionary when I left Berkeley. It was only, this would be in 1962, and 10 years later, the Black Panthers murdered my friend, and the left was successful in forcing America to withdraw from Vietnam, and the communists proceeded to slaughter 2.5 million peasants in Indochina. There were no protests of that, and I saw, that's when I got out of the left. It's evil. Anti-American and evil.
Mm-hmm.
And today it's racist and anti-Semitic, which it wasn't when I was a member of it. Not that that's an excuse.
So many things have changed today, David. And let me ask you this. The title of the book, Big Agenda, President Trump's Plan to Save America. Okay, so I would respond by asking you, is it too late or is there still hope?
Well, I think there's a glimmer of hope. As I explained in this book, Big Agenda, Trump's refusal to be intimidated by the left is a tremendous change on the Republican side. Republicans had huge majorities in the House from 2010 to 2016, and they, were sworn to and pledged to defund Obama's destructive programs, and they didn't do it. And they didn't do it because they were scared. Trump isn't scared. That's a change that has just enormous ramifications, as I explained in the book. We're in a kind of civil war situation in this country. The Democrats say they've been a resistance, and that's where they cry what they're doing now. Well, you resist Nazi occupation. An opposition party in a democracy does not do resistance. We have a tradition in this country. It's really a sacred political tradition for an incoming president. Gallup estimates that it's about 7 months on average. Trump didn't get 7 seconds. He didn't get confirmation hearings. He got a witch hunt. The Democrats have declared war on this administration. They're a seditious party, and they're a party of hate. I thought the seminal moment in the campaign was when Trump, and I've written about this in this book, Big Agenda, came when Trump was debating Hillary, and he looked at the television audience and said, "You have to understand, Hillary has tremendous hatred in her heart." And what he was referring to was the basket of deplorables, where Hillary defined us who oppose her as racist, sexist, homophobes, Islamophobes. And every conservative within earshot of my voice now who has ever been in an argument with a liberal, or so-called liberal, they're not really liberals, has been called a homophobe. The Democratic Party is a party of hate, and that's tragic for our country. But there's a possibility that Trump will defeat them. We'll see. I mean, it's hard to herding Republicans. It's like herding cats, getting Republicans on the same page. But
amen.
Maybe it'll happen.
David, let me ask you this. We're basically pretty close to the same age. And you and I growing up, we saw the Democrats like Adlai Stevenson, and we saw Hubert Humphrey, and we saw John F. Kennedy. And today, the Democratic Party is pushing and espousing the likes of Bernie Sanders.
Party, my friend. They have the same mentality my parents are card-carrying members of the Communist Party. Therefore, we just stand as a racist party.
Right.
Identity politics is racism. The idea of identity politics is if you have the right skin color, which is dark, you go to the head of the line for school admissions, you go to the head of the line for a job, you go to the head of the line for promotion, and for many, many other things. That's anti-American, and that's racist. And of course, their racial hierarchy has, guess who at the bottom? White people. So there's a terrible thing that's happened in the Democratic Party. I mean, there are some sensible Democrats, but, they're in the tall grass now, hiding. Keith Ellison, a Louis Farrakhan, anti-Semitic, anti-American, racist, came within 13 votes of being the party chair, and he's now the deputy party chair. What kind of a party is that?
Right. But now, with that being said, though, regarding the Democrats, and you look at where we are with the media slant against Trump, the media slant against anything conservative, and the media slant against the white race, condemning them for everything they've done and everything they want to do, how can we overcome this, and what can a president do to try to change the complexion of America?
Well, two big questions. What we can do is stop being afraid of stop being intimidated. Go right back in their face. The Democratic Party is the racist party. They control. There's a chapter in my book, in this book I've written, Big Agenda, called The Achilles Heel. Every major inner city in America, every killing field, Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis, Baltimore, 100% controlled by the Democratic Party, and has been 100% controlled by the Democratic Party for 50 to 100 years. Everything that's wrong with the inner city that policy can affect, Democrats are responsible for. It's a racist party. It always has been. With the party of slavery, it's the party of segregation, and it's the party of the inner city plantations now.
There was a
Trump can do. I mean, Trump is doing what he can do. Stay on the attack. Don't get defensive. I mean, they made a big mistake in recusing Jeff Sessions. They should have never done that. The Democrats, I mean, these people who once complained about McCarthy, actually there was a communist conspiracy, have now drummed up this fantasy of a Russian conspiracy to collude with the Republicans. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the lies that that are perpetrated. And yeah, the media is just an amplifier for all the Democrat lies.
You had written that the left's creed, identity politics, is an anti-American, racially charged determination to reject individual accountability. Right there, I'll stop and say personal responsibility and accountability is dead in this country. And with the millennials and our school systems, how are we going to get that turned around to go back the way it should be?
Correct. That's correct. We have to take back the schools. I proposed, and again, I'm sure I included this in Big Agenda, Trump's plan to save America, a code of ethics for K-12 teachers that would take away their licenses if they advocate on any side of any controversial issue. I'd like to see it adopted in Idaho. It's a good conservative state. There ought to be a superintendent of schools who would put it in place. That would be the start. But the big thing is Just go right in their face. You are the racist.
Absolutely.
People of color. It's not English. We don't say crayons of color. But, of course, if you say colored people, then you're a racist. But what is the purpose of people of color, that category? It's totally ideological. It's not English. It's actually a French construction. Well, think about it. If you look at Mexico, there's two main ethnic groups. There's the descendants of the Spanish conquistadors and the descendants who slaughtered the indigenous Indians and the descendants of the indigenous Indians. But when they cross the border, they're both people of color. Therefore oppressed, therefore deserving certain sensitivities, cut them slack, give them privileges. Maharajas in India are people of color. The beheaders and crucifiers in Syria and Iraq, they're people of color. If you ever wondered why the Democrats are so soft on our Islamic enemies, it's because they're people of color. Who in the world is not a people of color? White people. That's it. The white people, that's the evil race, the oppressive race. And this is the ideology of the Democratic Party today.
When you look at the situation as it is today, and you wrote this book, what was the purpose that you want people to take away when they close the back cover of the book? What do you want them to remember from this book, President Trump's Plan to Save America?
Just remember, the Democratic Party is the party of Bernie Sanders, a lifelong supporter of communist causes. Bernie would have been the nominee if the crooked Clintons hadn't fixed the primaries with the help of Donna Brazile and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. It's a radical party. Don't be intimidated by them. Stay on the offensive. Get involved in politics. We have to take back the schools. That's the most important thing. That's where all this radical drivel comes from anyway.
Absolutely.
It starts with the K-12 schools. But it's just everywhere. And I want people, my book, Big Agenda, Trump's Plan to Save America, is really a guidebook to how to fight this battle. So I can't summarize it in, a minute. But the main agenda is don't be intimidated by the Communist Party line, which is political correctness.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid. It's like there isn't another Republican who would do what Trump did in one of those debates when he looked Hillary in the eye and said, "You're a liar and a crook," because it's politically incorrect to talk to a woman that way, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes.
Until we start, getting back in touch with the truth and being unafraid to tell the truth, we're going to be losing.
David, last thought here this morning. I myself am going to be getting the book this weekend. I can't wait to read it, but tell my audience, where can the book, Big Agenda, President Trump's Plan to Save America, where can they find the book?
It's on Amazon.com. It's in all the Barnes & Noble stores. You can get it at I have a website at frontpagemagazine.com. But, the easiest place is Amazon. But it should be anywhere you can buy books.
Conservative activists.
Times best now.
All right.
I'm totally blacked out and boycotted in the, whatever you want to call it, the left stream media. You would think, here's a book that's been 5 or 6 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, that I would be invited to be on one panel on, MSNBC or CNN. Forget it. Communist channels.
Absolutely.
Communists advisedly. They don't want other opinions.
That's true. Absolutely true. I'm honored to have you, sir, conservative activist and writer David Horowitz, and thank you. I'll get the book. I'll keep promoting the book, and thank you for your time on our program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. A very nice gentleman, David Horowitz, and very interesting. I honestly, and I say this not just to be gratuitous, I can't wait to get that book and read it. I've heard so many good things about it, and I have a lot of respect for David Horowitz, as you know, raised basically, like he said, in a communist home, saw the light at the end of the tunnel and said, oh, no, this is not the way to live. And now, very conservative writer and activist for America. Thank you very much, David Horowitz. We got to get a weather forecast on in here. Oh, I'm running late again, and then we'll take some calls, so give me a jingle. I apologize. The phone connection was not the best. Cell phones and telephone lines and going into studios and then back out on the air, you know, it's nobody's fault. It's just sometimes cell phones are not the best to use, and I apologize for that. Weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Located at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Oh, have you heard? They've got the buckboard bacon. It's leaner and more economical than traditional bacon, with all kinds of different flavors like lemon pepper, smokehouse barbecue, ranch, peppered, traditional. I'd love to try a couple of those right now. Scarro's Meats, absolutely delicious. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Well, there's a big possibility that spring has finally sprung here in the Magic Valley. For your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast, Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. Looking for sunshine today. 67 going to be the high. Clear skies for tonight. Expecting a low just about 37. Then for Wednesday, sunshine and 67. Going to see just a little bit of a breeze, maybe right around 7, 8 miles an hour. Now for Wednesday night, got about a 30% chance of rain, 43 the low, 20% chance of rain, and mostly cloudy on Thursday, a high of 58. As we moving into the weekend, looking for mostly sunny on Friday, a high of 63, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 66. Hopefully spring has sprung here in the Magic Valley. That is your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast.
Thank you very much, Scotty. Brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the number 324-7657. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Absolutely delicious meats, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Scarro's Meats. I got time for some phone calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. I had a very, very, very nice listener call me the other day, and I thought it was really nice. This person said compliments to our program and compliments to our guests and compliments to the way we construct the program. And I want to say thank you very much. I didn't get permission to use their name on the air, so I'll just say thank you very much. It was brought up in the conversation that, holy cow, how do you get, meaning me, how do you get all these national people to come on your program? And I thought about that for a minute, and I said, you know, it's just because I asked them. I mean, it's really kind of a simple answer. I asked them. I have some different contacts around the United States on the East Coast and also in California on the West Coast. And I just called them and I said, hey, do you know how I can get a hold of so-and-so? Or do you know how I can talk to so-and-so on my program regarding their politics, their book, whatever the case might be? And it's amazingly been great to work with all these people across the country that can supply the information on how to get a hold of them. And then I call them and ask them. And they've all been, I don't think I can recall maybe one or two that have been just, you know, a little bit aloof and a little bit above. Well, we're on national TV, we're doing this nationally. I can only say that about two guests in the last 15 years. Every single person that I've talked to, you know, whether it's Brigitte Gabriel or whether it's David Horowitz or whomever it is, they've all been extremely gracious to come on this program, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Got time for calls, so I'll sit back and I'll say, hey, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Big tire sale going on for spring. I'm ready to never say winter for at least another 8 or 9 months. I've had enough of winter. Big spring tire sale going on right now, and they've got their tires on sale for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. I mean, whatever you need tires for. Get on in there today to all 7 locations. And don't forget to, before you take off on the highways and byways, have your brakes checked and your front end aligned and make sure that everything's okay with your battery. Holy cow, they are good. 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. Okay, I mentioned it a couple times earlier this morning. I'm going to mention it again. We are, underline the word are, no excuses, come heck or high water. We're going to have lunch bunch this Thursday at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And yes, it starts at 11:30. Yes, I will hurry down a very bombed out Highway 30. It looks like a war zone on Highway 30, and be there as close to 11:30 as I can. And great food and absolutely phenomenal service. And we also want to say thank you for lunch bunch to our gift donors, Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes, Doug Martin, and also Alaska's Best. Going to be a great lunch bunch. We have not had a chance to see each other for a long time, and probably ought to put name tags on and say, hi, I remember you from way last November. What's your name? But anyway, it's going to be lunch bunch at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, on Thursday at 11:30. What have we got cooking for tomorrow? Well, we've got open forum in the first hour. Then, of course, my dear friend from Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bigo, one of the biggest and best employers in America. Legislative update. I believe it's going to be Kelly Anthon. I may be wrong. It might be Speaker of the House Scott Bedke on the air. And then, of course, the incredible Bulk. Yep, he's coming here again from the Idaho Fish and Game. Kelton Hatch will be here tomorrow in the last hour. So we're going to have a good time tomorrow on Wednesday. Also, I had a couple of callers that said, how do we get your Cow Pies and Coffee Cups weekly blog? Go to zebbell.com. You'll see the information button to click on for the address and everything. And I don't know how many thousands and thousands of subscribers we have right now, but the numbers are growing all across the United States. Thank you. We appreciate it. Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. Until tomorrow at 8:06. My goodness, we'll be back here in the saddle to ride for 3 hours on K-Bar 12:30 a.m. and streaming live on zebbell.com all over the universe. You take care, and remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be.